But welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Na'Vi versus Viking.gg in the Epic League, and it's the upper brackets as well. So this game, it doesn't mean, do or die for either of these two teams. But obviously, you do want to carry on winning through the upper bracket. You don't really want to drop down to lows. Then you're always going to have that threat of if you mess up a couple of times, you're just completely out. So you always want that safety net of being in the upper brackets, keeping yourself nice and safe. So we'll see who's actually able to best the alpha in this series and going to be able to come out on top. I feel like they both run relatively similar playstyles as well for the games I've watched. So I'm sure this should be a quite an interesting one to view. We'll see how it ends up turning out. The Na'Vi leads up with the IO pickup, and Viking respond by taking the Slardar. Both these two, obviously very high meta picks. Generally, first pick heroes. Both of them as well. Same with, there's a lot of other heroes in the pool that could have been grabbed, like the Omni Knight. That's very high meta at the moment. A lot of teams are grabbing that and pairing up with the Sven. Or there's the Magnus, easy position 5 roll. Loads of options. These are the ones they lead up with. Na'Vi then grab the Sven. Most likely going to be the pair up there with the IO. But sometimes though, you do see the IO put into the off lane and actually paired up with the position 3 rather than the actual carry. We'll see if maybe that's something that Na'Vi's possibly thinking about doing. We'll have to see. Does Roger really play the position 4 IO? I think he does. We'll have to see where it does end up going. If I can actually take the Lifestealer now, quite an early Lifestealer pickup. It's not even like it's a hard counter to a Sven either. Maybe they just want to guarantee they get some sort of Magic Communing base hero, expecting some sort of magical lockdown to be coming out from the side of Na'Vi. I mean, sure, you're always going to be able to dodge the Stormhammer stun that comes out if you ever get ganked from that. And especially if there's a relocate, actually, if there's ever a relocate coming near you that the other team wants to try and set up for a gank, all you have to do is just pop Rage and TP out. So as long as if Viking make sure they ban out like Beastmaster, maybe Enigma as well, just heroes that have that Magic Immune piercing stuns and disables to actually stop just the Rage TP out. We'll probably see that come out from Vikings pretty soon, I imagine. I mean, they've grabbed the Lifestealer, so they don't need to really worry about banning out the Mars, even though that is a hero that General does like to roll with. But it's always a bit difficult when you're going up against the Lifestealer. Always a feel bad, man. But there is a few heroes that Viking probably needs to be a little bit scared about, potentially, just to try and counter out this Lifestealer. Like the obviously the Beastmaster, which gets banned out, the Enigma, the Bat Rider, what other sort of Magic Immune piercing disables are out there in the Dota realm. Maybe just someone who has to get lucky bashes, but you probably won't see someone like that in the off lane. Well, I think those are probably the main three. So we'll see what Viking are going to use for their 5th ban this phase in a minute. But Na'Vi heavily focusing all of their bans towards Solari on that position 5 role for Viking. Taking away his Undying, taking away the Enchantress as well. So we'll see what's actually left for him to actually pick up in the end, because Na'Vi have thrown a lot of hate their way. And it's always brutal when a position 5 is getting targeted by enemy bans. Position 5s generally have the roughest time in most games. And now he can't even get the hero he wants to play. That's damn evil, Na'Vi. That's damn evil. Let's see what they're going to take away for their final ban. Using quite a bit of their reserve time for this. Really want to make sure they take away the correct hero. And it's actually going to be the Rubik. So yeah, that is a hero that Aramis does roll with. And you can play that quite well. But you never really need to be afraid of a Rubik unless you're going to be picking up some heroes which have really nice abilities to get stolen. So maybe they are thinking about taking the Enigma, possibly. Because it's always super easy for the Rubik to steal the Black Hole. And obviously got that Magic Immune Piercing disable against the Lifestealer. I can't remember how many times I've actually seen General play an Enigma, but I'm sure he does have the ability to. If you're a professional player, you're going to be able to play nearly every hero in this game. Sure, you're going to be specialising in others, and you're going to be obviously have different actual skill levels for those heroes, but you're always going to be able to at least play them decently. Doesn't have to be like incredible shit hot plays, but it still needs to be relatively well balanced. I'm actually going to take away the Timber Saw. It's a good hero that can lane up quite nicely against the Lifestealer, try and harass him out and make things a little bit difficult for him. Take away his, the main stat, strength. And Viking even take the Snapfire now as their third pickup. So they've already got the offlaner in the position 1. There was like a good couple of weeks where the Snapfire was being picked up and just thrown into the mid lane. Viking was one of those teams that was doing that quite often. So we'll see if they're going to do a similar thing and put it into the hands of Boom for the mid. Or maybe they're just going to go back to that sort of traditional position 5 role, give it to Soleri. It's always quite nice pairing up with the Lifestealer. Obviously, the open wounds, slowing people down, getting really aggressive into them with the cookie on top, stuns them in place, a lot of damage from the Scatter Blast. It can be a very difficult thing to try and survive up against. So now we're going to have to try and grab something maybe a little bit elusive to dodge out quite a lot of the aggression coming out from these two heroes. Possibly Void Spirit? Maybe a little bit too early to pick up the Void, perhaps. And now we're actually going to take the Witch Doctor. So that'll be for Fly to the Moon most likely. So this is going to be a Roger Io. So let's see what they're going to grab as their position 3 to actually pair up with this Io now. Generally you want someone who can make good use out of the overcharge attack speed bonus. We'll see what it actually is going to be. Maybe... Ooh, Legion Commander actually. Could they grab the Legion? It could be quite dangerous trying to go for like Legion Jewels up against the Lifestealer. Especially seeing as how they're going to have a Snapfire backup. But, I mean, you've got the IO, so you can be able to go for those sort of global jewels once the LC hits that level 6 and try and get that jewel victory up as quickly as you possibly can. And obviously it is another BKB piercing disable to try and just lock down this Lifestealer and stop him from plowing into the rest of your teammates. Sure, you're going to take a bit of damage in return, and it is quite brutal, but you know, it can be an effective way of dealing with the Lifestealer, as long as if you don't mind getting whacked into. I mean, it will have to support the heals coming out from the IO and the heals from the Witch Doctor as well. Obviously, you can't really rely on the Witch Doctor heals all that much, obviously, as it is just a small AoE around the hero, and the Witch Doctor never liked being in the front lines. He always wants to be sat back a fair amount. So maybe they won't go for the LC. Mind you, they still have got their position 3 to pick up. They take the puck now. Most likely going to be for the mid lane in the hands of Iceberg, I would imagine. I don't think General will be taking that to the off lane. So it looks like Viking are going to start focusing all their bans once again towards this position 3 role. Meanwhile, Na'Vi just need to try and... Well, they banned out the Dragon Knight, so they are thinking that this Snapfire will be that position 5 role. Try and take away a few mid laners from Boom to possibly pick up. Not that Dragon Knight's like a super counter to the puck, but with the Dragon Blood, it just makes it so difficult for the puck to actually try and fully harass him out the lane. Even though the puck does do a large amount of magic damage, it's just the HP regen factor of the Dragon's Blood that makes it really difficult to try and lane up against the Dragon Knight. Let's see what else they're going to see what they will ban out to try and get this favourable matchup for him. If I could take away the Void Spirit, so yeah, as I was saying, it would have been a good hero to evade quite a lot of the aggression coming out from the Lifestealer Snapfire in the off lane for Na'Vi. But obviously that's not until like he gets really level 6, even with a couple of points into Dissimulate. Na'Vi using all of their reserve time right now. They really want to make sure they take away that proper pick. There will be the TA. Pretty good hero to go up against the puck as well. Obviously those refraction charges mitigate a huge amount of the damage that the puck does, as the puck is mainly burst damage, doesn't do a lot of ticks. So it is a pretty good band from Na'Vi. See what Viking would take away as the last hero. See if they may be threatened by the possibility of that LC coming out, or if they're just going to completely ignore it. Maybe take away the Bat Rider instead. Possibly, but I mean, sort of Na'Vi, they need some more frontliners. The Sven's really the only one who can get really stuck in there. So maybe they do need another tanky hero like the LC. It's not the easiest LC game though, actually, really, because if you try and go for a duel, you're going to be an easy sitting target there for the Snapfire Mortimer's Kisses. So that could be quite brutal. See what they are going to go for. Okay, so it's actually going to be the Night Stalker. So you're definitely going to be able to get on top of the supports quite easily. And with that Crippling Fear, it definitely reduces the actual effectiveness of a Dark Willow and a Snapfire in the coming fights. Especially the Dark Willow, super squishy. So Night Stalker will probably be able to do nearly solo killer in a lot of situations. The Viking have got tons of reserve time to work with right now. Got a whole extra minute and a bit to really try and cherry pick the proper mid lane for them. Or position 5 if they are thinking about putting the Snapfire in the mid lane. It is very possible. Although it is very easy for a puck to evade the damage coming out from the Snapfire, like because the cookies is so easy to spot coming. You can easily pop that phase shift and just completely dodge the skill altogether. Sure, you probably get hit by the Scatter Blast still, but I mean it's half the damage once you actually miss out those cookies. And so, ooh, actually go for a Shadow Fiend. Okay, so that's a hero you do not see that often whatsoever. I think it is a hero that Boom has liked to play quite a lot in the past, but you know, it doesn't really you don't really see this hero very often. It's very high risk, high reward. Obviously, Shadow Fiend is one of the heroes that can do so much damage in the early portions of the game, but he is just a glass cannon. He's so easy to bring down, especially if the other team has a few bits of lockdown, which Na'Vi does. They're going to have the Dream Coil to always try and lock this Shadow Fiend down. He's not going to be able to escape, so the Sven and the Night Stalker are always going to be able to get on top of him and start pounding away. So we'll see if maybe Shad and Toby's going to be able to make enough space for Boom in the actual coming team fights to keep him as safe as they possibly can. But I mean, there is quite a lot of very scary targets coming out on the side of Viking. Sort of same from Na'Vi as well, but yeah, it just feels like Vikings lineup's a little bit more like there's too many high priority targets. The Slardar, the Lifestealer, the Shadow Fiend, even the Snapfire to some degree can be quite a pest in these team fights. Meanwhile, on the side of Na'Vi, mainly just sort of the Sven and the Night Stalker are the ones that are going to be really getting stuck into the front lines. Iceblower could be sort of jumping in and out, dealing as much damage as he can, whilst also trying to remain elusive as possible. But I think on paper, I think I'm favouring Viking.gg. Obviously, the Shadow Fiend pickup is quite scary because it can go horribly wrong or it can go amazingly well. There's very rarely an in-between sort of area where it's just like he's not doing overly great, but he's not doing terrible either. You know, it's normally one or the other. So we'll see what Boom's able to do this game. Maybe he could potentially just snowball off the mid lane and carry his team to victory, not even needing the Lifestealer perhaps. As we shall have to see. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 between Viking.gg and Natus Vincere in the Epic League, the upper brackets. So as I was saying earlier, it's not super critical that either of these teams need to win, but you always want to win. You know, there's never a time where you say, oh, we should probably lose this, guys. Unless, of course, you're doing a bit of 3-2-2. But we don't talk about 3-2-2s, do we? No, we don't. We never talk about 3-2-2. And Na'Vi go for a very aggressive play here. All 5 of them smoked up and just running through the lower areas of the jungle right now. They're not going to run into anybody. And they can start wrapping round. But it's literally just Shad who's down here. And he's hiding very close to his tier 1 tower. So Na'Vi, unfortunately, aren't going to find anything for this entire move. I think Roger maybe just spotted out Shad. Or Shad spotted him out. They're pinging him up on the high ground. So I think they realise this is going on. There should just be an easy couple of bounty rune grab up for Viking at the top lane. Going to be no response from the side of Na'Vi. Be a straight split 2-2. So we'll see how this mid lane ends up going up. I think for the early levels, it's relatively even. Obviously, the puck does have quite a bit better actual right-click damage. But obviously, Boom going with the raises as the first ability, always going to be able to most likely secure the first range creep. And the first two. This wave's going to be pushing in pretty aggressively already. We'll see how that ends up going out in later portions of the game once a couple of levels start going into either side. The down bot, Shad, he should have an okay lane for quite a while. It is a little bit scary with the IO Night Stalker pairing. There's so much sustainability for the Night Stalker. You can always just try and trade right clicks up with Shad. And normally when you're trading right clicks against a Lifestealer, you're generally losing the sustainability war, but with an IO with you, you're always going to have that super healing bonus. So they might be able to actually turn out alright for him in the end. But even still, everything's pretty damn even. Then up top, VTune, all doing okay so far. Obviously, he doesn't want to try and leave the safety of his tier 1 tower too much just yet. Not much always Wonderfly can really do to harass either Toby or Aramis out of this lane. Pretty juicy target himself if he ever gets caught out by either members of the Viking squad. Oh, it looks like they might potentially try and go for the grab of Aramis. No, I thought maybe he might have gone for the Bramble Maze there. And then maybe Toby could have got in range. Could have been a free tasty Witch Doctor. Just a bit of harassment going out. Maledicts actually comes out forwards on fly, plus the Stormhound on top, doing quite a bit of damage to Toby, but VTune taking a large chunk himself in return. This is only a level 1 Maledict, so it does absolutely no damage at all. Oh, imagine that last tick was like 50 magic damage. Oh, that's not terrible. It's alright for harassment, at least. So how's it looking in the mid lane now? Boom, just hit his level 4. Iceberg, level 4 as well, so very even on XP. Even on CS, 13-3 to 13-1. Only barely favouring Boom right now. Already with his bottle completely empty though, and out of any other sort of regen. But Iceberg doesn't have anything at all. I imagine he's probably got a bottle coming out in his career, which he does. So he's definitely going to have a little bit of extra HP and mana to work with for a little bit. Ooh, aggressive jump in from Iceberg, applying quite a bit of pressure onto Boom. Just making him run around behind his tier 1 tower. Maybe Iceberg thought about wanting to make a move there, but he takes quite a bit of damage in return. So there even TP's to the mid, but Roger comes out himself. Illusory Orb just off the mark. Still jumps very aggressively forwards there, but jaunts off to the orb. Keeps himself safe. I think it's still just both his two supports just hanging around the mid lane. Trading a few right clicks, but Roger will get the hell out of there. Cheeky little raise. So doing quite a chunk of damage there to Iceberg, but he does have those couple of bottle charges. And we'll see who gets lucky with the 4-minute runes. Is Roger going to try and actually get it, or is it going to spawn down bot for Boom? And it's actually up top, and it's a regen rune as well. Absolutely perfect for Iceberg. Eek indeed. But even still, across the board, everything is pretty even. Both the offlaners, nearly identical CS. The position ones, pretty close as well. Only a very, very tiny lead for VTune. That doesn't mean anything at all at this point in the game. So maybe we might see the first bit of action happen around the 5-minute mark. Potentially, maybe some team might make a move for the bounties and try and claim some extra ones. It's very rare though that you see big sort of movements just for the 5-minute bounties. It's generally just supports trying to outclick the other one in certain scenarios. Looks like Roger's going to be able to get the bottom bounty. And Solari's going to try and hit up and cut off to get the top one. He actually will just turn around and change his mind. So both the bottom bounties go towards Na'Vi. But likewise up top, both of those are going to go into the hands of Viking. So it ends up just being 2 for 2 yet again. Nothing particularly crazy and fancy coming off there.
One by one, they fall.
So what sort of build Boom's going to go for? Is he going to go for that sort of Shadow Blade style Shadow Fiend and just try and make loads of rotations around the map and try and get some unsuspecting ganks off? Or is he going to go for like that sort of Blink Dagger, Yule Scepter sort of combo? We'll have to wait and see what he ends up queuing up after he finishes up these power treads. Gets lucky with the rune down bot though. Ends up spawning for him. But the ultimate committed there from Iceberg, trying to keep Boom locked down. Even General coming around here himself. He manages to get the first one onto Roger before he ends up dropping down. Celeri tries to get involved as well, but now he just gets stunned up with the Maledict on top. The Illusory Orb just finishes him off. So even though the Viking got the first blood there, it ends up being a 2-for-1 trade. Just slightly favouring Na'Vi in this situation. But even still, at least Boom got his first blood. It makes him feel a little bit better, I suppose. You're not exactly going to be over the moon ecstatic about it. But it's something, you know? It's something. So it looks like V-Tune's been forced into the jungle. He was only level 4. I mean, at least he's now just turned level 5, so he's gonna have that 3 points into the Great Cleave, which is nearly just a necessity if you ever force into the jungle at this early point. Or at least a minimum requirement for it to be somewhat efficient. Even though you definitely want to try and stay in lane for as long as you possibly can, but level 5 is the point where you can just about get away with it and it doesn't hurt you too badly. Clears up a nice little stack that's been made for him from Always Want to Fly this game. And now he's just trying to sponge up as much farm as he can up. And just try not give any easy kills over to Toby. Just got to stay by your tower. That's all you got to do. Stay by the tower. No matter how tempting it may be to come out and try and get some CS further out the lane. Just can't risk it. Too damn dangerous. So General's holding his 6th point right now. Not sure what he's maybe aiming to go for. Maybe just wants the potential to maybe have to maybe put in a point into the Dark Ascension, or saving a point for his Aura or the Crippling Fear. Very situational. Does want to just go getting a little bit ahead of himself. He's just patrolling around the Radiant jungle, making sure there's no little supports farming up some camps. Could have been an easy kill for him. Now we'll just fall back. We've got V-Tune just taking loads of stacks that was made by Roger. I didn't see how many was actually on this Ancients. Probably 2 or 3, I imagine. But a quad stack there on the normal camp. Clean up there by V-Tune. Big chunk of money. I think they will now just realise that the camp has been warded up. Oh, hold on. It's off to the side. There you go, now you find it. So these have come up for the 10th minute. It's a very passive game so far. Neither team is really at that point where they want to start making loads of plays. I think General and Toby are the ones that can really start making the key movements around the map. Especially the 2 mid laners. But General is looking to get a free kill now onto the Snapfire. Just dies way too quickly, especially using the cookie there onto the creep. Doesn't even get the stun onto the Night Stalker either. Real salt in the wound. Ends up just being a little bit of free gold for General. What's he actually building up as his first item? Not got anything queued up. Just sitting on the phase boost at the moment. Iceberg, he made the rotation up to Salt, wants to try and make it go on to Toby, but Toby just turns around, trying to stand his ground. There's a Death Ward and the Malok. Even a relocate comes out as well. 4 heroes. 5 actually. Vichu was there. He didn't get involved. All of them just collapse around Toby, making sure that this offlane Slardar definitely dies. Actually, no one even gets the lane farm. Relocate comes back. No always one fire's going to be able to soak it up. At least someone's going to be able to benefit from this. Oh. Thought he wasn't going to get that CS then. He's too busy buying tomes. So Boom, he's actually going straight away for that BKB. Obviously, the amount of disables coming out from Na'Vi, they got 2 silences, 3 stuns, plus the Dream Coil stun as well. But obviously, the BKB is not going to stop you from, you know, getting locked down by that one. There is still going to be that coming out from the puck to limit the movements of Boom, even with this BKB activated. But it does allow you to still be able to do a bit of damage and work in the coming fights. Plus giving a little bit of tank as well. But Boom's actually doing very, very well on farm. Pretty much identical with Vichu. This is the benefit of a Shadow Fiend. You've got all those raises to work with, which really does help ramp up your farming speed quite a large amount. So you can somewhat match the farming speed of the Sven with the Great Cleave. There's smoke coming out from Always Want to Fly and Iceberg. You're going to try and find the grab onto Shad. The Blink Dagger forward. They managed to silence him up before he can get the rage off. He will now pop it, but it's not going to be enough to save him. The Death Ward just carries on pounding away. And all that physical damage finds the kill. So Shad ends up dying for the first time this game. And now Na'Vi may just going to try and carry on pressuring this tier 1 tower now. But meanwhile, while Shad was busy dying, Toby was busy pushing. Manages to take down the tier 1 tower at least on the top side of the map. So we'll probably just be even trading in that respect. But Vichu tapping on the tier 1 in the mid. We'll actually end up falling backwards. The Relocate coming out from the backlines. Immediate ultimate pop there by Boom forces everyone to run away from that fear. But it looks like Na'Vi, they don't want to completely fall back. And now General's going to start engaging onto Solario, doing tons of damage. Will they be able to get the kill onto Snapfire? It does end up going down there from Iceberg, getting involved as well. Meanwhile, Iceberg, Toby just charging and always will find the background. He falls, but Vichu's getting pretty low himself. Roger tried coming in to lend a helping hand, but couldn't quite get there in time. So Vichu actually ends up falling. Iceberg needs to get a full retreat now as well, taking tons of damage. Toby's still just applying so much pressure. Ends up netting the kill onto Roger as well. So 3 heroes fall on the side of Na'Vi, only losing the position 5 on Viking. Ended up going perfectly well for him. And all these tilt and tips coming out from Viking as well. Just tipping away onto Iceberg. So yeah, nice engagement. Nice try. He didn't even use the Dream Core in the end. Did he not have it? Was it not off a cooldown? I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess it must have been on cooldown. Very odd move to try and go for some sort of play in that mid lane without having the key ultimate available. But this Iceberg is rolled straight up into the high ground. Ends up running into Shad and Aramis, but not enough damage to actually follow up and kill him off. They spot the double stack. It looks like Viking, they don't want to let this pressure go down. Always want to fly, leaning in the front, but that's not the hero that needs to get up there. He's going to get brought down pretty easily. Shad getting the last hit. Even Iceberg just he's getting forced back just by Aramis alone. And now Vikings can just be able to clear up all these stacks that were made for Vichu to hopefully try and farm up. No response that comes out from Na'Vi. Well, they tried to, but it just ended up costing them another life. They just got to split up and try and find farm elsewhere. At least Roger's still being able to make a few stacks. Try not to let that harsh loss affect Vichu's game too much. But as I was saying in the draft, the Shadow Fiend is really like a death ball-y sort of hero. A very, high risk, high reward. And he just wasn't really punished that much in the early game when he's the most vulnerable. Like, he only died that once, but even still when he died, he managed to get the first blood as well. And he's just not really been pressured since. And it looks like Na'Vi, they want to keep this pressure going. 3 of them were smoked up, trying to wrap around behind. The Dark Ascension popped by General. Jump for Iceberg, yes, 3-man ultimate, locking them all down in place. But Boom just pops his BKB, tries standing his ground, gets the ultimate off. Just clipping onto Iceberg, but it looks like everyone on the side of Na'Vi is getting the hell out of there, especially with this double damage Shadow Fiend. Looks like Always Want to Fly will be the sacrificial lamb, and he ends up dying to the Mortem's Kisses. So another failed gank coming up there from Na'Vi. They end up losing another hero. But I suppose at least that was the first usage of the BKB coming out from Boom. But Viking just going to transmute this straight into a Roche take. They've still got this double damage activated. The minus armor coming out from Toby as well. Look at this guy full. This is so quick. Already down to half HP. I imagine they'll probably give the Aegis over to Boom, as he is the most vulnerable on the side of Viking right now. And now this is starting to get real scary for the side of Na'Vi. There's going to be a lot of weight on Vichune's shoulders. He's still sat at the top of that net worth, but it's only by 300 gold. You generally want like a good 1, 2, 3,000 gold over the top of the other cores on the other side to really, you know, feel like you can get involved and be a real potent force in these coming team fights. But we'll see what he's able to do. Even with these, without having a full arsenal on him. He's working towards the BKB himself. Maybe it's mainly just for the fear factor that comes out from Boom when he pops the ultimate. Possibly. I mean, there is still the stuns coming out from Toby. Stuns from Solari as well. Yeah, it gets good use out of this BKB. But Boom just chipping away at this tier 2 tower, doing tons of damage. There's no glyph to stop this from happening. Even just tanking the tower right now. Wants to keep this catapult alive. This is going to be a tier 2 Gon at 16 minutes 40. That's going to be that's going to set Viking up to try and take away the outpost on the side of Na'Vi before the 20-minute mark and really start cementing their lead in this game. Get that big XP boost over the other side. There's tons of heroes of Na'Vi all sort of focusing around the bottom part of the map, but everyone else of Viking's on the complete opposite side. And so much vision as well in this area. So Na'Vi really want to control up the enemy jungle. It's like 3 wards all around this area, 4 wards as well actually on the map. So they've got this perfect little area of vision that they can try and work around of. So this all makes sense of why they're focusing a lot of their efforts around here. And Viking, they've actually gone for a smoke up. Boom's the only one, but Toby's leading the charge with the infested inside. Roger actually ended up breaking the smoke. And with the tether away, might be able to get himself. Toby tried going for the blind grab there, but doesn't end up finding anything. So it looks like maybe Viking just going to start pressuring on the tier 2 in the mid instead. Boom just tanking the tower once again. Toby's still infested up. The Shad's perfectly comfortable, sat in the passenger seat right now, just watching out the rear view mirror. Watching towers die. And now, as soon as that's over, we're going to start being humped. There's another ward there by on the side of Na'Vi. Just making sure that this bottom part of the map is the safest place they can actually be with all this vision. I'm sure this is a lot of time that Shad isn't actually farming. He's the sort of... he's just a passenger. he's just watching the world go by. It looks like they might be able to get a jump out onto General as he's trying to farm up some aggressive air. He gets the ult off just in time, so he might be able to try and fly over the cliffs. Goes for the TP out there, but the Mortimer's Kiss was on top. And plus still in range of the physical attacks from Toby and Shad as well. There's no way that was going to work out. So unfortunately that is his ultimate as well on cooldown for 2 minutes. So it's going to be more time that Na'Vi is going to be able to get any aggression. My god, the right clicks there from Boom. Ooh, nearly finished off Always Want to Fly with that nice little raise onto the high ground. Barely manages to survive. But even though it feels like Viking is just so far ahead, it's less than 1k gold. Well, now it's 1k gold lead. But it's not even like they're super far ahead in terms of actual farm. It's just the way that they're playing and the pressure they're able to apply. And every single time Na'Vi try and make a play of their own, it just gets somewhat countered. So we'll see what they're able to do once they get the next couple of items online. This BKB is ready and available for Vichune. He's actually building an Orchid. Okay. So who's this Orchid target going to be? Is it going to be on for Shad before he can get his rage off, perhaps? And then he'll be the initiator? It seems quite weird, though. Iceberg in general went for a smoke up. Don't actually end up finding anyone. The scan came out there from Shad, realising they were going to be trying to come after him, pick him off. The 20-minute bounty spawn. Na'Vi get the top 2. Aramis cleans up the bottom 2. Meanwhile, Boom's taking away another tower. Tier 1 falls. Just going to keep applying the pressure forward, though. No reason not to at this point. Especially with Dragon Lance and Grove Bow. I'm pretty sure he outranges towers now. He just outranges tower. Now is the Age Proclaimed. So there is going to be that window now for Na'Vi to potentially take some fights and bring them down. Oh, the glyph comes out, but not that it matters. Boom can still just outrange this. Going to blow up the creep wave. There's a few TPs though coming up from Na'Vi. They want to make sure they don't lose this tier 2 tower for nothing. Now they're going to start making forward. Iceberg jumps on in, but out comes the fear from Aramis. Going to force Always Want to Fly to run away. Just gets right clicked down by Boom. Now he's going to pop his ultimate to make sure Vici can't get him. But he pops the BKB just in time. Going to start trying to lay into the Shadow Fiend. Do as much damage, but there's the cookie defensively trying to get Boom out of there. The jump force from Toby and Shad. They can try and make as much space. Forcing Vici to run around. Boom's getting pretty low, but it doesn't matter. He's still able to stand his ground. General actually ends up falling. Aramis does way too much damage. Roger just trapped inside. Nowhere for the IO to go. He ends up falling as well. And now Vici needs to watch out. Toby jumping forwards. Actually gets stunned up in place with the Malady on top. The Slardar falls. Maybe Toby just getting a little bit too ahead of himself there. Throws his life away. They could have potentially just go out there and been perfectly happy with that. But the Root Cake coming up from Roger just ahead of Shad. Goes for the Rage TP out there, so he won't get caught out. So nobody finds anything. Even the sorry dropped to there, but I didn't click on the recap in time. But yeah, sorry dropped there from Toby. Like, yeah, I got a little bit carried away. But even still, I mean, Toby died, and Always Want to Fly, General, and Roger died. I think, was it a buyback from Roger as well? It's Always Want to Fly and Roger both bought back. So 2 buybacks on the supports for Na'Vi, as well as the kill onto the offlaner. Vici nearly dropped as well. Got pretty close at one point, but he just able to get out of there. I think the Ag's actually online for Iceberg. So we're going to be able to make sure he locks people down with that Dream Core a lot easier. This still works the same way, right? Increased damage from breaks, increased duration, and some goes through spell immunity. So that's definitely quite nice, seeing as how there is a few BKBs as well as the Rage up on the side of Viking. Now they're going for another aggressive move. Boom and Soleri smoked up, whilst Toby just infested up as well. There's this constant vision from the side of Na'Vi around these areas. So they saw the moves from Toby, but at least Soleri managed to take some vision away. Still not going to be able to find anything. Actually, I say that, but General up top. He actually gets caught by the Bramble Maze there by Aramis. Go with the Cursed Crown as well. Trying to hold him in place. Doing tons of damage. Even with the Bedlam. Toby came in there for the cheeky last hit, but I think Aramis might have been able to solo kill him, you know. That looks really close to just Aramis taking down the Night Stalker all on her own. Very scary when she reached a point in that game. Ooh, Toby nearly gets the grab there onto Iceberg, but quick fingers with that Blink Dagger. Gets him the hell out of there. Once again, it's just Shad sat in the Slardar, just chilling. Just watching the world passing by. Just flying around. So the Roshan is up. I thought maybe potentially you could see just Viking just roll straight on in there, pop down some vision on the dire side of the jungle, and you could make that move. Soleri does now spot it, so realise it's up. We'll probably see everyone on the side of Viking just making a beeline to this area. But Na'Vi, I think they realise this is going on as well. They got that ward up on the high ground, so they see this is going to probably be happening. Even with that ward, spot out the vision that Viking had, takes that away from him, so it's not going to be an easy take for Viking. They're actually going to go for a smoke up play. Going to wrap round to the high ground. You'll see who they actually end up finding first. Jump forward for Toby. He actually gets the grab onto General. Locks him down in place. He drops pretty quickly. Always Want to Fly needs to get the hell out of there himself. Trying to slowly crawl away. But Shad's going to find this easy target. Just whack it into the back of the Witch Doctor. And there's no escape for the poor little position 5. So 2 kills for Viking. Super easy. Super quick. Now they're just going to roll into this Roche pit. And my god, it drops even faster than the first time. They don't have double damage. What is with this insane damage? It's a Daedalus for Boom. Boom has a Daedalus online already. This Shadow Fiend hurts like hell. 25-minute bounty spawn. Iceberg, at least he manages to find one. Ooh, I thought Toby may have just spotted him. I think he did spot him in the end. Didn't quite want to go for the jump. There's no one else around. It's probably a wise idea. But Na'Vi, they're just still sort of a little bit flustered about what it is they need to do. They've gone for a smoke up now. If they smoke up whilst Vichu's trying to farm the Ancients, like, dude, I want to kill these Ancients. I don't care about anything else. So this smoke is really weird. It's just Iceberg in general. What are they going to do against everyone on the side of Viking? You need the rest of your team here. You need to go for 5-man movements. These two on the low aren't going to do anything at all. So it ends up just being a little bit of a wasted smoke movement here. Toby, he wants to go for the jump. He gets the stun initiation there onto Iceberg. Follow him up. Oh, Iceberg just be able to get the phase shift off in time. And with the Blink Dagger out, barely able to survive. The Mortimer's Kiss is coming out there from Soleri. He finds the indication of where Iceberg was, but couldn't quite get the connection on it. So Iceberg barely escapes there with his life. Super close to drop him. Another tier 2 falls. Every single exterior tower for Na'Vi has already been taken away. And it looks like it's going to start prodding onto this tier 3 as well. Maybe force out the glyph already. As everyone from the side of Na'Vi is on the complete opposite side at the moment. Start seeing some TPs back. They want to get here to defend this. And Boom's the one actually just sat on the high ground, sieging away. We've got that protection of the Aegis. So it will be quite difficult for Na'Vi to try and make a move onto him. But even still, does half the damage onto the tower. Another creep wave has arrived, so might potentially just see him use the glyph, maybe. They're actually not going to bother. Boom's just still chugging away. Is this just the siege tactic for Viking? Just watch the Shadow Fiend just whack away. I mean, well, it feels like it's working. But it looks like Na'Vi, they're set up to maybe make something happen if it's the same plan coming out from Viking. But there's already an anticipated infest coming out onto Toby. So they're going to be able to try and make a move onto Boom if the situation arises. But the tower already falls. Iceberg jumping on in there, stunning him up. With the Mallet, Deathwall coming out as well. But Toby just jumps immediately onto Always Want to Fly, brings him down in a second. Boom's first life will go, but he'll be spawning any second. And now it's just a 4-on-5 situation. But it doesn't look like Viking... They're just waiting for the next wave. Waiting for the creeps to push onto this high ground and try and take away these barracks. Actually, no, they're not going to bother. They're just going to accept what they got and start falling back now. But there is the cheese now into the hands of Boom. Again, there's another wave that's going to be pushed onto this lane of barracks already, and everyone else on the side of Na'Vi's already left the base. I don't think they were quite expecting for Viking just to hang around and not do anything. And this is going to be free damage from Boom. It's way too much damage onto the range barracks, and actually forced out the glyph. But even still, it's just Always Want to Fly in general here for now. There's not really much else to force Viking to fall back. They're just going to carry on sieging away. Even just takes away the little ward that Always Want to Fly place. Oh, Dark Ascension coming out from Gerald. Wants to try and wrap around the back. The stun initiation there onto Boom only connects onto one, so it's not the most efficient cast bouncer in the world. I mean, now Vichu's going to start doing as much damage as possibly can to Boom. He doesn't even get the cheese off. Why did he use the cheese? And now it looks like the Shad, he's trying to stand his ground. He's amongst absolutely everyone there. The Mortimer's Kiss is coming out on top, doing tons of damage. Even the Fear forcing everyone on the side of Na'Vi to fall back. Vichu ends up dropping. He's gone for 60 seconds, no buyback, but Shad still ended up dying first. So two of the main cores inside of Viking had already dropped. I don't know why. Why didn't Boom use his cheese? He wasn't stun locked. He got his BKB off. Did he forget he had it? I don't know. Maybe just a little bit of a misclick, perhaps. It did cost him his life. But even still, that's not too bad for Na'Vi. Sure, you lost Vichu, but you still got those two very high priority kills. It looks like generally you might potentially try and make another move. Try and get another kill onto Toby here. There is the Bramble Mace from Aramis, trying to make a bit of space, plus the Mortimer's Kiss as well. It looks like now Aramis is going to be the one who ends up falling. I don't think there's any escape here. 4 members all on top of him. With the Maledict as well. But Toby, he's jumping on in there. He might actually get the kill onto Iceberg in return. But there is the heals up. And he manages to get out of there. Now Toby needs to run away. But out comes the Reality Rift once again. Locking down Toby in place. but still it's really difficult for the side of Na'Vi to actually get close enough to do damage. It's too scary to try and stand your ground against this Slardar. I mean, they forced the BKB, and I suppose that's victory enough. I mean, immediate fest coming up from Shad onto Toby as well. They're baiting out the bounty. Oh, he turned around. He turned around at the wrong time. They go for the kill onto the Roger, but that could have been the kill onto Iceberg if Toby just waited a couple more seconds. They would have got the vision onto him. I mean, a kill's a kill at least, but there is sort of priorities of what kills are better. So it's Abyssal Blade queued up for V-Tune as his next item. Not bothering to go for the Ags this game. Maybe realising that they're on more of the defensive. But and maybe with the Rage and the BKB from Boom, it's too difficult to actually get any sort of decent targets to Superman on in there. Even the Dark Realm from the Dark Willow as well could make it a little bit awkward. So I suppose it makes sense in that light. But even still, I think it's still just such a core item for a Sven. The Ags is pretty much the main reason about why it's such a high meta pick nowadays. As obviously before that, Sven's just heavily relied on like a BKB or something to actually be able to get in there and initiate. Toby, he tried to go for the blind crush by the looks. Onto either General Wars on fly, but ends up guessing wrong. Nice little courier usage there by Shad. So maybe the game plan for Viking is just to wait for the next Rosh again. It's potentially up in 40 seconds. It's going to have that Aegis Cheese and one extra item, whether that's going to be a Refresh Shard or Ags. We'll have to wait and see. They'll probably give the Ags over to Soleri, I imagine. I think that'd probably be the better choice. Possibly give it to Toby, just so he can stand his ground a bit better. But I mean, it doesn't feel like there's any sort of issue with the Slardar survivability in these team fights. What's the Ags actually do on... It just brings the Requiem in again, doesn't it? Increases max souls, returns back to Shadow Fiend. The way back to Shadow Fiend deals less damage, but also heals Shadow Fiend for all the damage it dealt. Yeah, I'd probably still say that just give it over to Soleri. Probably be the better chance. But Toby leading the charge, going to find another free kill onto the position 5. It looks like Na'Vi wants to try and make some sort of counterplay. V-Tune's coming in there. They're going to start focusing it onto Boom, getting pretty low, but he pops the cheese very prematurely with his BKB, standing his ground, doing loads of damage onto V-Tune, gets lucky with a couple of his crits. The relocate there from Roger gets him out of there. Boys on the fly dies once again, gone for 70 seconds, no buyback. General nearly getting caught, actually walks into the Bramble Maze, plus the crown. Getting controlled up Iron Mace, but they can't quite find the follow-up kill. Meanwhile, Roger did end up dying when his relocate brought him back into the waiting arms of Viking. But both the supports down for Na'Vi. This is going to be the opening for Viking to start applying a bit of pressure onto the base. They're going to head straight towards those lane of barracks at the bot lane. There is a glyph that Na'Vi does have to work with. Even still, they're not going to bother wasting it. And then it's going to go straight for the tier 3. The glyph's already been used. The glyph was very late. I don't understand what happened with that glyph usage. Like, it didn't save the barracks, and it didn't do anything to delay the push out on the wave. A little bit of poking and prodding coming out there from Iceberg, trying to stop their base from melting as quick as it is, but there's way too much damage on the side of Viking right now. Whole set of barracks again fall in the mid lane. So top, bottom, and mid just now completely open. Just the top set left available for Na'Vi to work with. And now Viking, they're just waiting for the next Rosh. Up in 50 seconds. Not going to be too far away. And it feels bad for General. He's having to hide in these trees whilst his hand and mind is off cooldown. Ooh. That feels real bad. That feels real bad. The scan ended up coming out there from Na'Vi, so maybe they're thinking Vikings taking this Rosh, but it's not even up yet. But luckily that's not going to prompt them to go for any sort of aggressive plays. It just doesn't feel like they'd be able to make any sort of movement, even if they tried to. Oh, BKB popped by Vichu, and then Roger just gets immediately targeted in the background. Vichu's going to try and stand his ground against Shad, but he's just losing the damage war. There's too much coming out from this Shadow Fiend, and I think that's just game over. Always Want to Fly is going to fall as well. And yeah, that's just GG. They call it. They realise they are way too behind at this point. Like Vichu, with his BKB and the God Strength activated, he tried to trade with Shad, but the lifesteal from Shad was meaning he was doing no damage, as well as the damage coming out from Boom as well, the Daedalus. It just tore through that Sven way too easily. And that was... It didn't even... Like, in terms of gold and like, kills and everything, Viking were never really hugely ahead. It felt, in terms of actual net worth, that it was pretty even for a large portion of that game, but just the way that Viking was playing, they just hit their timings that much better and started applying their... applying the pressure as soon as they possibly could. And it just ended up working really, really well for them. Obviously, the Shadow Fiend paid off perfectly this game. As I was saying, it's very high risk, high reward. And luckily for them this time, it ends up paying off as Na'Vi just didn't punish it. If there's ever a Shadow Fiend, you have to try and just really screw this guy over the early parts of the game. Make his lane miserable. Have a lot of gank rotations. But with the support choice on the side of Na'Vi, the Witch Doctor and the IO, neither of these two can actually try and gank the mid lane whatsoever. So it just gave Boom all the space he needed. And it just became such a beast. There's nothing that Na'Vi can do to stop it. But either way, well played there by Viking, taking that first game. We'll see if Na'Vi is able to bounce back, push this onto game 3 perhaps, and try and keep themselves in the upper brackets. But even still, Viking looking super dominant. We'll see if they're able to keep this momentum going forward. And they're probably feeling quite hyped after that game. I imagine they're probably feeling it. I would be. So, no doubt they would be. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this game, please think about liking, subscribing, all that malarkey. And hopefully I'll see you guys for game 2, which will be coming up pretty soon. Thanks for watching that video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it and the content I was able to provide. I am just starting out, so if you did like it and you want to support me in the future, then please think about following and subscribing to me on Twitch, Twitter and YouTube. I post on Twitter what events I plan on covering in the future and when I'm actually able to do some casts. I don't have the most free time in the world, unfortunately, so I can't provide constant content, but I can guarantee you every single time that I do cast, I'm giving it my all because I have a lot of passion for it, and hopefully that does come off. So once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed it and you stick around for the next video. So hopefully I see you guys there. Cheers.